You ever had a film that you really, really wanted to see, and it took you years to see it? For whatever reason, you weren't able to see it because it wasn't streaming or you couldn't get your hands on a physical copy. But eventually, you do see the movie that you long sought out. And then when you see it, your reaction is like, okay. Like, you didn't hate it. You thought it was fine, but you wanted the experience to be more than what it was after all the time you waited to see it. Knightriders is that film for me. At least it was at first. I remember after trying to find it for a number of years, and then eventually finding it in a video store that was nearby my house in the early 2000s. And I remember being in a video store, and I think it was one of the first times I was ever there at this particular video store, and I was like shocked to see it on the shelf. Like, oh my God, there's Knightriders. It was almost like finding the Holy Grail. So I went ahead and I rented Knightriders, and I watched it. And one thing I remember is how long it was. Like, I never found the film dull or boring, but I did think it had quite a measured pace to it. And I thought like a lot of it, at least in the first half, like there wasn't that much going on. It was just, random stuff happening, and I don't know. I wasn't the most fully engaged with the movie watching it for the first time. And by the time the movie ended, I definitely was, a lot more engaged by the end. But yeah, like I just didn't have any real desire to see it again. Now, I really did admire the movie. I admired it a lot. This movie that stars Ed Harris, Tom Savini, Gary Lottie, Amy Ingersoll, Christine Forrest, Patricia Tallman, and Warner Shook. And there are appearances by actors who've appeared in other George Romero films like Ken Foray, Scott Reiniger, John Amplis, and many other people who were in Romero's circle at the time who made appearances in this film. And they all are awesome in this film. This definitely was a film that I admired a lot more than I actually liked. I did like it enough to get myself a copy of the film not long after, but I never watched it. I never felt compelled to watch it. Like, I hoped I would get another chance to watch it, thinking like maybe a second time around that the film would be better. But this was like when I got myself a copy of the film. This was like in the early 2000s, and I went the rest of the 2000s not watching it again. This copy of the film that I had. And from time to time, I would, tell myself that, hey, maybe you should pick up that DVD copy of Knightriders, because the copy I had was a VHS. And I like, eventually I'll go ahead and I'll pick up that copy of Knightriders, a DVD copy, and give it a second go around. And then later on, it's like, well, I'll go ahead and I'll wait till it comes out on Blu-ray, and then I'll finally watch Knightriders. And from time to time, it was always like the film was always calling to me, like, watch me one more time, give me another chance. But it's just for one reason or another, that it just didn't happen. And more years would pass by until I finally bought Knightriders in 2017 on Blu-ray. And I think the thing that finally pushed me to buy Knightriders on a new format and finally watch it again for the second time was the fact that I saw it actually was on Blu-ray. Because I didn't think it was on Blu-ray before. Like, I would say I'll wait till it was on Blu-ray, and I didn't see any news it was on Blu-ray, and then all of a sudden I saw it was on Blu-ray, and it had been on Blu-ray for a couple years at that point. And so when I finally saw it was on Blu-ray in 2017, I just decided just to write that in there. No more excuse, just buy it. Just pick it up. So I bought the Blu-ray copy of Knightriders, and I watched it for the first time with my brother Kevin, because when I watched Knightriders, I watched it by myself. And by the time I finished watching the Blu-ray of Knightriders, I was just blown away by just how awesome the film was. Like, why did I wait so long to watch this movie again? My brother Kevin was also like really, really impressed with the movie, and it became one of my favorite George Romero films from watching it the second time. And then when we watched it again later that year, just days, I believe, after George Romero's passing, I think that might have been the first film we played in memory of George Romero, because after George Romero had passed, during that summer of 2017, we just decided to play just a good number of George Romero movies. Every single George Romero film we had, we watched it, and we enjoyed it even more the third time around. Well, it was Kevin's second, it was my third time around. Knightriders is just, an amazing film, an amazingly unique and sincere movie about these traveling troupe of bikers who go from place to place, like holding these like joust, these tournaments, like in the, I guess, like a Renaissance kind of type of thing, or like, I mean, basically their ideology is like based in like the King Arthur, like the ideals of King Arthur and that world of King Arthur. And they cosplay as people from Arthurian time, and they have characters based on characters from the world of King Arthur. And some of these people, like, they just do it for fun. Other people, they do it for I don't want to say deeper reasons, because fun is a good reason to do something for fun, but they do it for like spiritual reasons and just just all kinds of reasons why people do anything. But like in Night of the Living Dead, or particularly The Crazies, George Romero does a more than commendable job, like juggling like a good amount of characters, a wide array of characters. Out of all George Romero's films, this is his largest cast and his largest cast of characters, and he just he just does a great job of just making sure everybody has their time to shine. No one gets shortchanged. No character feels like superfluous. No subplot feels superfluous. It's just, it all feels necessary. It all feels right. Nothing's forced and contrived. There's nothing bloated, even though this is a long movie and it does move at a measured pace. But it's never boring. It's never dull. It just takes its time of, building up this world, building up these people's backstories, and it's just, to me, expertly done. But it feels like an epic, even though it's pretty small scale. There's no huge action sequences or whatever, but from the time the film starts to the time where it finishes, you feel like you've been on a journey. You feel like you've been on a journey with this traveling group of idealists and, people who just want to go ahead and like get the most out of life. I don't know, it's just so emotionally rewarding by the end. And it is a roller coaster of emotions, this film. Just like life can be. I don't know, it definitely leaves an impact on you, and particularly like watching this last time. Like, I saw Knightriders yesterday, and I just want to get myself refreshed a little bit on the film. And this is a film that I love more and more. The more times I see it, the more stuff that I find, things that I didn't pick up before. This film to me always has like some new discovery, some little new treasure to find. And this film has, a good number of themes in the film. One of the main themes is like, how do you keep on to your integrity in a world that's doing its best to, at least at times here and there, trying to strip it from you, try to take it from you. The film poses questions like, is it ever okay to sell out? I say my answer is no, definitely not. But and if you ever have to sell out, like, what do you sell out for? Or what do you compromise on? What do you stay steadfast and like, nope, I am standing my ground on these ideals and these beliefs, and I don't care what happens. But then also, like, it also poses things like, how far you should like stand your ground when other people can pay the price for you standing your ground. Like, how long do you hold on to an ideal and belief when holding on to those things could bring possible ruin to the people who you love, and the people you care for, the people you're supposed to protect. And in the name of protecting these people, you try to stick to these ideals, but it's sticking to these ideals causing more harm than good. When you should step back, when you should walk forward. Yeah, it's just like Billy, the main character in the film. Like I definitely probably relate to him more so than any other character, perhaps in all of Romero's films. Even though we're quite different people in a lot of ways, but we're the same in terms of like, I'm somebody who definitely has a set of beliefs, and I at least a certain types of beliefs, and I very much like hold steady to them. And I do believe in the ideal of integrity and not selling out. I do fiercely believe to holding on to what you got. And but like Billy, I can also understand, like, I relate to stubbornness to some degree. And just living life long enough, how your stubbornness can definitely be an admirable trait, but it definitely can be moments where your stubbornness could definitely can be problematic. And your stubbornness could possibly cause a bit of a wedge between you and the people who in your life. And you have to be careful, with stubbornness, and have to be careful to, being. And I'm certainly not a rigid person. I certainly do my best to try to be as open as possible as I can be. But I've definitely had moments where maybe I don't know, held on to something a little too tightly, or was a little bit too unmovable, and could have given give some way, or I don't know, like just been a little bit more looser, or so I understand that about Billy. And of course he goes too far into like, it's got to be this way, it has to be this way, and no other way, because no other way is going to work. And a lot of times he's right in the film, but there are definitely moments where he is not so right, and there's moments where he's dead wrong, and that causes unnecessary tensions and divisions. And you always have to be just aware of the balance of basically staying true to what you believe in, staying true to ideals, and holding your ground, and listening to people, listen to other ideals, even if they may sound maybe not the most best to you. But you just always got to be open, stand tall, stand firm, believe in what you believe in. But you also have to know that there's more in life. Like, it's not just you in life. There are others too. And no matter how much you may want to believe that, you're an island, you're not. And your actions affect others. And you always have to be aware of that. Yeah, you just always gotta have your heart and mind and your spirit always open. And I love when Billy finally learns that lesson, and he becomes a lot more joyful person. And the people around him become more joyful too. Knightriders is also about dreams, and it's mostly about dreams in terms of goals, doing your best to go ahead and achieving those goals and maintaining those goals. But it's also about literal dreams too, like dreams that we conjure up, in our minds when we're sleeping, and visions, and how important are those dreams? How important is those things we see? Are they signs of something? Are they not signs of something? Are they warnings, premonitions, or are they just dreams? And how much stock we should put into what we see in dreams? How you always should try to maintain a good balance of how long you should stand by a belief. You also need to have a good balance of what to infer, what to take, what to leave from your dreams. And not just your dreams, but also when to let go of a dream that you're living. When's I took this goal as far as I can take it. Now I need to go ahead and move on. And that's the thing Billy learns in the film. That's the thing other people learn in the film. When to stay on a certain path, and then when to go ahead and forge a new path. The score by Donald Rubinstein is uniquely and awesomely awesome. Knightriders is also the very first cinematic collaboration between George A. Romero and Stephen King, who has a two-scene cameo in the film. Like I mentioned before, the cast of actors in this film are amazing. I love all the characters in this film. It's hard to say which ones are my favorite characters, which ones are my favorite performances. But of all the performances, I would say Ed Harris is the one that resonates with me the most. Ed Harris, but Tom Savini, like, he's also great in this film. Patricia Tallman, I really like her in this film. Like, just, I don't know, everyone in this film is pretty impressive. Everyone in this film, yeah, like Romero just like the like I said before, the way how he just juggled all these characters and the way how they all just make impressions. Like, this is definitely one of his best scripts, and his most dense script, and I would say it's his most dense script, his most complex script in terms of characterizations. And I don't know, I've gone on all about it, but the story Romero crafted, this unique story about, at least at the time anyway, modern day jousters, this traveling troupe of bikers that, like, I don't know, the ideal is just so distinct, and just, I don't know, I loved Romero when he just thought outside the box. Like, his best movies to me are his movies when he thought outside the box, like outside of the mainstream. And maybe some people might say he might have gone too far out of the mainstream, because unfortunately Knightriders flopped at the box office, and to me that's a big crime, that the movie didn't do well at all and was for a long time kind of semi-obscure. And I still don't think the film was all that well known. Certainly one of the least known amongst Romero's body of work, but it definitely has a group of fans out there who really cherish the film, like myself. And I'm just gonna do everything I can, like making this video to bring more attention to it, because Knightriders is just fantastic.